for a lot of people, myself included, the could-do list is an absolute game changer because no idea gets lost or forgotten, but also very little time gets wasted on ideas that really shouldn't be explored or maybe shouldn't be explored yet. Hey everybody, it's John Lamilton here alongside my good friend and business partner, Mr. Jason Brockman. We are here for another episode of the Ambitious Lifestyle Business Podcast, where as always, it is our job to help you get more customers and make more money without just working harder. So without further ado, let's dive straight into this month's episode. Today, we are joined by Suzy Watson. Suzy is the founder and owner of Explore Norfolk UK, a Norfolk walking holiday business and a search directory for all things Norfolk. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Suzy.
Good morning, John. Nice to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us. We've got to, first of all, acknowledge that you are currently sat in a car outside a police station to get some internet. So I promise not to offend the people of Norfolk by making disparaging comments about the quality of your internet, but this is where we are right now, isn't it?
It is. It's trying to find some decent 4G in Norfolk is interesting, and their quality of Wi-Fi in the more rural areas is, let's say, it leaves a lot to be desired. So we're in a car, so very interesting.
Perfect. This is the second time we've attempted a podcast. I think we've just got a longer piece of string now between the two cans, haven't we?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, let's just hope Fantastic. A policeman doesn't come and look through the window and say, "What are you doing?"
We'll just tell him you're on the Ambitious Lifestyle Business Podcast. Yes. I'm sure he's heard of us.
Yes.
We're probably on his most wanted list. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Suzy, as we were chatting a while ago, you've had a very similar kind of backstory to us in terms of dabbling in lots of different online businesses. Would you mind just walking us through your journey briefly into how you ended up with running a Norfolk walking holidays business?
Yes, certainly. So I started off working as a PA secretarial in the City of London. And then we moved out of London to Norfolk, had children, so didn't work for a while. I was fortunate in that I didn't have to. And then it got to a stage where before that, to go back a little bit, when we were in London, we also had part of a network marketing business, which was interesting. We were quite successful in it, but it got to a stage, I'm glad to say, for me anyway, when it just petered out, because it's an interesting... have you done network marketing? John?
We have. We have done a little bit of network marketing, yeah.
And anyone else that has will know that it's an interesting one. Trying to get people to actually sell products becomes tedious after a while. So we eventually gave that up, I'm glad to say. I suppose I've always been looking to do things. I didn't want to have a job where I was in an office 9 to 5, because I wanted to be around for the children when they were small. So for me, that was important. So I've always been looking, and I think luckily with the rise of the internet, it gave you an opportunity to find various things to do. And so having done our network marketing, given that up, I think I sort of was looking on the internet, found a website, or found a system for a website that was going to sell dog collars. Nice collars they were. They were pretty dog collars, for dogs.
Not for vicars or priests.
Not for vicars or priests, no. Dog collars, of which I sold the grand total of none, 0. Then I found a website that... or another way of selling diet pills, and I did sell one. So I thought, okay, this does work. It did prove that it worked, but I thought, this is getting into dangerous territory for me. I was a bit worried about that one, so I came out of that one. And then I did a bit of temping, and I went off to Cambridge and did a bit of temping there in a council, or in the council, which was interesting because that really made me realise how their whole workday is just full of meetings. So then I worked for an MP for 5 years, which was interesting. It was interesting actually to see how, the sort of questions that people would ring in with, and an interesting way of having to keep very straight down the line, not take sort of sides with anyone. That was a big lesson actually to learn. And I got to go to the House of Commons sometimes, which was fun. But yeah, so I gave that up after another election, and it wasn't Liz Truss who is actually my MP. But there you go. And then I then set up a website, a self-improvement website, which was okay, but I felt I couldn't control it because didn't have any photos that were mine. They were always sort of stock photos, and the information. I'm not an expert in self-improvement, so it was. And then Google changed everything, so you needed they came down heavily on the health side of things. So I then thought, okay, this isn't really going to get anywhere. But I always had a thing of what can I do? What can I do? I live in Norfolk. What can I do? And so then I thought, well, okay, I'll set up a website on Norfolk because we've lived here for about 30 years, so we're very new still. We haven't come from generations of people living in Norfolk, which is what Norfolk's a bit like. So I then wrote content for the website on all the Norfolk beaches, which was a sort of way for me to discover Norfolk and to find out a bit more about it. And then I branched out and went to the castle ruins and all that sort of thing, castle ruins and other stately homes, that sort of thing. And that started to gain traction. And I thought, well, this is interesting. And I thought, but I was making no money from it. So I thought, well, how can I make money from it? And then after much sort of deliberation and thought, we live sort of off one of the national trails. So I thought, well, why don't I do a walking holidays business? Because I'd seen that there were walking holidays businesses, walking holidays businesses that did the trails. We've got one trail in Norfolk that goes from sort of the middle of Norfolk up to the coast and then all around the coast. And I knew there were companies that actually did that. So I thought, well, why don't I do the same? So I set up Norfolk Walking Holidays, a bit in trepidation, thinking, goodness, who's going to book through me? And lo and behold, I got some bookings and more bookings, and then it's grown ever since. So that's been my main sort of income generating bit of the website for the moment, anyway. So that's how Explore Norfolk UK came about.
That's amazing. How did you find that first that chicken and egg of getting the traffic versus monetizing the website? How was that journey for you?
Because it was more of a sort of not therapy, that's the wrong word, but sort of discovery, I suppose. It didn't matter to begin with, because I just find it fascinating that people were coming and wanting to find out about this beach, that beach, and so I knew that it worked. I knew that people were going to come and look on to the website, and then so I built up traffic for the website, and then I suppose having put the walking holidays business onto it, it just sort of went, it took off as it should, really. So I think it was lucky doing it that way rather than the other way round. If I'd done it the other way round, I don't think that would have worked nearly as well, because there was no sort of base there to begin with. So yeah, it was I think it was the right way round, actually, funny enough.
Do you feel that's what you did with the the dog collar business and the weight loss pills was put the business first, and then the passion for it, the actual, building the audience was almost secondary. The primary objective was that I could earn money doing this.
Yes, definitely. And I think it's, for me, it's probably the wrong way round for this sort of business, because you need, you need to have the passion. You need to have the passion to build a business. And so my passion is Norfolk. So that then comes across, I think, in the walking holidays business as, and I certainly get testimonials about all that, saying, "Oh wow, I love that you're so passionate, that you know Norfolk, and that it's that we know you're there, and I love that you've got all these photos and all that sort of thing." So yes, I think the fact that that I had the passion for Norfolk, and then the business. I mean, dog collars. Yeah, I had no passion for dog collars, except that we've got a lovely little dog or two, and I thought,
Yeah.
well, that would be very nice. But where does that then take you? And the weight loss. Well, yeah, don't go down that route. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had we haven't had a dog collar business, but we have sold diet pills in the
Oh,
past.
okay.
I think
That's
very
interesting.
similar to you. We probably sold maybe 3 boxes of
Oh,
pills.
okay.
Um, Again,
Had
what
no idea.
was the passion for that business? There was no passion for the
None.
business.
No.
It wasn't that I'd lost all my weight with these diet pills, and I felt that they were brilliant, and I wanted to share that with. No,
Yeah.
it was just, I could earn money. I've seen somebody else earning money with this type of business. I found a domain name that would get some
Yeah.
search traffic.
Yeah.
I can knock a website up really, really easily. Hey, we could earn some money doing this. And there's zero passion for that whatsoever.
I
Exactly.
You know,
think, to be
go on, yeah.
fair, listening to Suzy's story really was kind of resonating with me quite considerably. Obviously, when I first joined you, we had the freebie site, and that had its traffic, that had its thing. You created something there which was working really well. So all I needed to do to build upon that. But obviously, once we started thinking about actually we could have other websites and doing other things, we then started falling into the let's try these different things. Maybe not dog collars or vicar collars for that matter, Suzy. That may have been more
They were
successful.
quite
I don't know.
nice.
But yeah, we kind of we did fall into that trap of looking at like, well, what else can we make money with? Because we can do it quite easily with free nappies and free cat food and various other things. But what else can we do? And there was no passion piece in amongst that. It was just a case of, where's that money sat? Let's create a site about it. Whether that was
Yeah.
dating, or whether that was offices, or whether that was even competitions, which you think was akin, and there was traffic from our freebie site. It just never got the same amount of traction.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
I
really
mean,
interesting. How long did you give
you
the collars? How long
not,
did
you
you give
see, not long, probably, I don't know, 3-6 months, if that,
And that's
Um,
one of the things about back in that day, wasn't it? It was
yes.
so easy to come up with an idea, throw a website together, test it for a short period of time or a longer period of time for some of the stuff that we did, and then move on to the next thing. It was just such a low barrier to entry back then.
Yeah.
Now,
And
of
I
course,
think if you
with
don't have the passion too, for what you're doing, then that's why it's going to peter out as well. If you have the passion, it's going to continue on, as a business, I suppose.
I think with that passion, you have authenticity, and you
Yes.
know, we've told the story about budgery cars in the past with authenticity and stuff. We've
Yes.
got a site, we had lots of users, lots of things, but unfortunately, the passion piece wasn't in budgies, and that wasn't to do with pants. That was to do with the bird things, and yeah, there was the passion bit was missing, and and people soon realised that, and it was a big turn off, that lacking in authenticity and passion, the same as they had. So that's interesting, I think, from your side, where you went to Norfolk, and as you said, it's probably a many generational place, whereas your first
Definitely.
generation there. It's just interesting that how that authenticity comes across, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think that's right. I think it's I think if you are perhaps generational, or you've had been here, it's a sort of, it's a place where you've grown up in it, you don't, like anything, if you live somewhere, you probably don't go and visit all these places, which I've come across, a lot of people in Norfolk I know that haven't been to this house or that ruin, and I'm thinking, well, you've lived here all your life, but so perhaps new eyes gives it fresh sort of,
Well, I mean,
picture.
I can vouch as a lifetime Devonian that there are places that I have only discovered in the last 4 years because of COVID, because we were only allowed to stray so far from our house, and I was fed up of doing the same walks with the dog every single day, that we did just go, well, what happens if I turn left instead of right? Let me go up on the moors and discover what these walks are. And yeah, some of my now favourite walks were recent discoveries that were within 5 or 10 minutes drive of my house, and I'd never knew they existed.
Yeah, extraordinary. Yeah.
For our listeners, before we move on from passion, because I think passion is so important, but we often talk within the 1% Club about our hedgehog. And for listeners of the Ambitious Lifestyle Business podcast who've not heard about the hedgehog concept before, this is an idea from Jim Collins. And it's an interlocking Venn diagram of 3 areas. 1, what are you really, really passionate about? What are you really, really good at? And what is the world willing to reward you handsomely for? Where is there a business model? So you have to have all 3. The hedgehog is where all 3 intersect. You are passionate about it, you're good at it, and there's a way to monetize it. And so often we speak to business owners and they've got, I'm going to butcher meatloaf here, but 2 out of 3 is bad. You need all 3, because if you've got a great business model that earns you lots of money and you're really, really good at it, but you hate doing it, you are not going to be able to sustain that for an entire lifetime. Similarly, you could have the greatest passion in the world. You could be really, really good at it, but if there's no way of monetizing it, you aren't going to be able to scrape a living. And whatever the third one of that is, what's missing? The being good at it. Yeah, you're really passionate about it. There's loads of money in it, but you aren't actually very good at it. Again, you're not going to be able to sustain that level of being able to fulfill what you've promised to your clients. So have a think, dear listener, about your own business. In terms of that hedgehog, where do you lie? How passionate are you? Passion, I always used to say back in the day when I was knocking up websites I wasn't passionate about, passion doesn't matter, but it does, because that's what keeps you going when you don't get immediate results, when things get tough, when you actually get a few tough clients, or you get a bit of a kicking from Google, or an algorithm changes, and you just get weighed down with running the business. Passion is what says, do you know what? I really want to do this and I want to keep it going.
Yeah, definitely.
Suzy, you are one of our most diligent 1%ers, I would say.
Yeah.
You've not been with us that long. I know you've not been a Norfolker for that long, only 3 decades.
Yeah.
But you've been with us for about a year now. And
Almost.
you're one of those who just quietly gets on with it. You come on the coaching calls, you have your one-to-ones with Jason, and you are not very quiet, but you quietly take it in, soak it up, what you need to do. You take on board any advice you're given. And then the next time we see you, you just kind of unveil and say, oh yeah, I've done this, and this, and I've stacked this up and I've had this result. And it's really, really good to see. I think it's almost an under the radar, just quietly getting on with it, making the plan and executing that plan and that's, again, this is all the 1% Club is, leaving your business 1% better every week. It's not changing the world. It's not 10xing your business. It's just diligently improving things every single week. And I think, Suzy, for me, certainly, at least, you embody that.
Oh, that's very good. The reason I'm quiet is because of my Wi-Fi. So I can't interrupt because it's going to go, so I just have to listen to those coaching calls and things, and hope that the Wi-Fi stacks up. But that, yes, that's very kind of you to say all that. I think the thing is, before I joined the 1% Club, I'd got to a stage in the business where it was obviously working, but I wanted more, and I didn't know what I wanted. I thought I wanted this massive, great big business, but soon realised that actually that wasn't what I really wanted. I just wanted to take the business somewhere else, because the Walking Holidays business side of it was working and going. So it had sort of hadn't stagnated, that's the wrong word, but it had got to a stage where that I'd found out how to do all that, and now that I knew that there was something else that I could do with it. So I think I'd started to read some of these books. I think I'd read Profit First, and then I got onto your book, John, which is always mentioned on this podcast. This one's The Big Ideas, and I kept coming back to it and thinking, and I knew I'd sort of been looking, I suppose, for a sort of mentor, but again, didn't know quite how to go down that route, and didn't want to spend thousands of pounds on doing that sort of thing. Came across The Big Idea and the 1% Club, and kept coming back to that and thinking, yeah, I think that's what I want, and had got to a stage where I knew that I needed to probably invest a bit to get out. So that's when I joined the 1% Club, and that's why I think I've used it to to help me move on in a certain way, not in a, as I say, not in a massive way, which is what I think, sometimes you come into these sort of things and go, yeah, I'm going to build this massive business and it's going to be brilliant. I always wanted a lorry with the name Watson's on the outside. I don't know why, but and there are lorries actually with Watson names on it, so I thought, I can't do that anyway. But this is one thing. I'm going to have a lorry with Watson's. I don't know what was going to be in the lorry, but so I just, it's helped me to bring it down and have a better look at the business, and sort of just take it, as you say, step by step, 1% better and 1% better. So the coaching calls that I've come on, sometimes you can pick up something little that has got, the person that's talking has got no relevance to your business whatsoever, but there's something they've said, it's just, oh, actually, yeah, I could do that in my business, or it could do that. So the coaching calls have been brilliant. I've got too many lists of, I'm a paper person, and I've got lots of bits of paper of, oh, could do that, could do this, could do that. And actually I spoke to Jason yesterday on a one-to-one, which are invaluable, by the way. I couldn't have done what I'm doing without those one-to-ones, because they're for accountability, and I know I would probably procrastinate if I didn't book myself into them. And it's been so helpful with just trying to work out ways of taking the business in slightly different directions with different things. But yeah, so the coaching calls have been brilliant. And then when Jason has suggested a few things I could do, that would be forms of extra income, I suppose. I've taken a look at that and sort of, yeah, put this new directory up, which is working well. But I suppose I'm not overly creative, so I think the 1% Club has given me ideas which have been really good, rather than me trying to work out which way to go. So it's helped hugely. Yeah.
I think we make a really good use of the 15 minutes of the one-to-one, and you certainly do make great use of that time from both that accountability part, but also the ideas generation and things like that as well. And I know when we've had our call, you probably go and sit down with a cup of tea with a whole load of ideas in your head, going, "Good, let's see where I'm going to put this." And even when you kind of get stuck and stuff, it's really good to talk through those things. And I know you benefit from that as well, really, on our just 15 minutes. It's it's amazing what we can achieve in that short time, isn't it?
Yeah, I like the 15 minutes, because you really have to focus on what you want to say. You can't waffle along. You've got to get down to, apart from saying good morning, Jason, how are you? You've got to get down to what you want to get out of it. And I do find them invaluable. I think they're excellent.
And of course, 15 minutes is about as long as your Wi-Fi holds up, so that's brilliant, isn't
it? Yeah, that's true. Oh, one day.
I love the fact that you've mentioned so many times there, Suzy, things that you could do, and that you have a long list of things you could do. We often talk about the power of the could-do list on this podcast. And for those listeners, again, who aren't familiar with that, it is this idea of, instead of having a to-do list of everything that you must do, it's about regularly just brainstorming and capturing those ideas. So the ideas we talk about in the 1% Club, it may be ideas you hear on this podcast, on a different podcast. It may be in a book you read. It may be a post you see on LinkedIn or Instagram. Capture it, print that idea off, scribble it down on the back of a Post-it note, capture it, put it away somewhere, file it, and then we usually advise once a quarter, make a 90-day plan. That 90-day plan is based on the best ideas from your could-do list, triaging everything that you've got that you could do to improve the business, to figure out what's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck in the time, the resources available to you, the capacity you've got in the next 90 days. You can't do everything. So let's just do the most important, the most impactful things. For a lot of people, myself included, the could-do list is an absolute game changer, because no idea gets lost or forgotten, but also very little time gets wasted on ideas that really shouldn't be explored, or maybe shouldn't be explored yet.
Yeah. What a
Suzy,
big
I was
file.
wondering, what do you find challenging about the 1% Club?
Ooh.
That's a question I've never asked before, and I'm kind of
yes.
about
What do I find challenging? I don't think I do. I find it really really helpful. I put all the coaching calls into my diary, and I like to come to those. I don't know. I like seeing people who have got bigger businesses than me and have got employees. I'm very glad I don't have any employees. But what do I find challenging? No, I don't think I find anything challenging, Jason.
Okay, cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
I suppose we're going to have to work harder here, Jason, aren't we?
I know. I suppose it's been. Okay. The more you talk, probably the more you can think of things. I suppose it's taken. Yes, actually, to be fair, it's taken me out of my comfort zone, and I've had to. My mindset has had to change actually a bit to be more business-like, I think, with my business. To begin with, I suppose it started off as a hobby, obviously with doing the beaches and things, then became a bit more serious with actually having to deal with clients. And I haven't done that before. I've always been sort of, secretarial. I've been, beholden to someone. There's always someone that's been telling me what to do. So I think that from the 1% Club has made me realise I've got to be a bit more businesslike. And things like, I suppose, when it comes to the hot seats on a coaching call, I suddenly think, I haven't got a hot seat. I haven't got a question. And then you suddenly spout it out. You say, right, so and so. I'm sure you've got a question. Thinking, but but you can always find one.
Only because I know in my head that you've already got a question.
I know.
Probably haven't worked out what it is yet, or at least it's not the same one you think you're going to ask. I do it with comments.
So I think it's just for me it's been a really helpful, the 1% Club, I must admit, and the process. And I've just you pay whatever you pay a month, and I've just thought that I'm going to use that. I'm going to actually, use the information that you're given, like the one-to-ones and the and all the coaching calls and the book club and things like that. You might as well use them if you're paying for them, and you've set them up so well. You and John and Jason and Lee and whoever else, that I just think it's worth using it.
Yeah, we've kind of deliberately priced the 1% Club at a level whereby it is affordable for small businesses, but it's not a throwaway, inconsequential spend. That we do want you to get a return on investment on your spend with us, and the best way you will get a return on investment is if you also invest some of your time every week doing something that leaves your business a little bit better. If we priced it at, I don't know, £25 a month, £30 a month, it'd be very easy to go, I can lose that, I can swallow that. I don't need to come on a coaching call this month. I can have 6 months where I don't do anything. And if you do that, you fall out of the habit, out of the routine of leaving your business better every single week. And this is where the power lies, is tiny gains every week, just stacked up again and again and again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've since I've joined, I've the 1% gains have been sort of systems that I've put in place for, processes. So to begin with my when a walking client contacts me, right to the very end, from the beginning of when they contact me to the end when they've done their walk and they've gone, I never used to have anything, any sort of system that was set up for going through the process of what I need to do with them, and what I need to put on the computer and all that sort of thing, because I knew it in my head. But I then, you then begin to think, well, what if someone else was working here? How would they know? And that just little process like that, a little system like that, has made a huge difference to me. So now I just tick these things off and I can see what I've done, which I had never done before the 1% Club, and I'm busier now since joining. But again, that's half to do with being accountable, I think, and getting these things done. And again, I never used a system, I don't know what you call them, like Trello. What's Trello system? CRM? Is that a CRM or?
Task management?
Yeah, task management. That's simple, Jason. Thank you. And I've just set that up only for the free version, but that's made a huge difference to me as well. Which again, that came out just in a coaching call. When you were talking about that sort of thing, task management systems, and I've never looked at them, and I looked at it the other day and I thought, oh, actually this is quite handy. You can put this there and you can see what's going on, and little things like that, as well as the bigger things of actually moving the business on, for what I want. Yeah,
it's interesting. It's because it'd be very easy to dismiss that and say, I don't need Trello, I don't need too many systems because it's just me in the business. But actually, even as a solopreneur, having systems is almost the scaffolding that you can build around what you need to do. That means you don't need staff. You don't need to have people around you. You can have systems, you can have tech, you can have automations, and it just helps you perform to the best of your abilities, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. When I was listening to the coaching call when we were going over this sort of thing, I just thought, oh no, that's not for me. I don't need that sort of thing for exactly what you've just said. You're one person band. You don't need all these things. But actually, the difference for me, having just got that just for myself, is massive, because I now look at that every morning, just first thing, and think, okay, that's rather than having. I've always had stacks of paper with lists of to-dos, and have sort of separated it out. But now actually I just have that, and then I put things in my calendar for blocking out time to do this, that, and the other, and that sort of thing has made a huge difference. Yeah, definitely. When you do have a business, you're just by yourself. You can do what you want. but to have some sort of again, comes back to accountability and to bounce ideas off as well, has been really, really helpful. But yeah, it's having systems in place which has helped me a lot, I think.
I kind of wrote one word down, and that was order, and I think it
Yeah,
kind of puts your life in order, your business in
definitely.
order, and it gives you the order in which to do things. If you can get those systems, you get your could-do list, you put a plan together, it just provides you with a little bit of order and know what you've got to do next. And for many business owners, I think they really struggle with that.
Yeah, without a doubt.
This long old list of things I've got to do, but I don't know what order to do them in. Which one's the most important? Nobody ever gives much thought to order.
I think that's why, actually, funny enough, Trello has helped. I've only literally put it up in the last sort of 3 weeks, but that's exactly, you having said that, yes, it's the order. You have bits of paper and you're thinking, oh, what am I going to do? I don't know. When you've got it all down in the separate, well, they have cards, don't they? You can see what you need to do. I know you can see it on a bit of paper, but it gives it a better, for me, it's a much better system. Order, yes, I like that.
Suzy, how do you choose, or how do you decide what to spend or what to invest your time in terms of that order? How do you decide what's next?
I think what's next. So I think I would probably.
It's what we spend a lot of time talking about on our one-to-ones.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
I meet with Jason and Jason tells me what's next. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Almost, but not quite. Yes, and we did have this conversation actually literally yesterday. I said, I've got too many things, too many things I want to do. And so how do I do it? I think because I'm focusing on the walking holidays, I know what to do. So I sort of have to fit that in amongst moving the business 1% on. So that, but I do have a busy time of year when I get all these queries coming in and I have to put quotes out for them. And so that does take a lot of time. But so what I've done, I think, is I've done what you say, is block out 1%. And I'm going to, I think I'm going to do one block out a day of maybe not very long, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, to just move one particular thing on that I want to move on. So I'm having to do it every day until it's got to a stage where hopefully I can perhaps take the foot off the pedal a little with that one. It's really, I've split my what I'm actually doing with my business into sort of categories, I suppose. And so I look at those and see which one's going to move me on the most, and then the other ones go down to the bottom. I mean, I love social media, and I really, it's, yeah. And I did try to put in a weekly, social media posts, and every Monday I'd put that in on Monday afternoons, and I'd see it coming up. And then I'd always have something else to do. And so I've just literally taken that off my calendar because I just think I'm not even going to look at it. It annoys me when I see it. So I think I don't do without, I use Instagram and Facebook. I don't do without them, but I just post them occasionally. I don't know. I'm in two minds about social media. But so that sort of, they have to be important for me to block out the 1% time a day. Actually, every day of a week, I've got a little set, little time scale of putting.
Do you do the same time every day?
No, I don't actually. I try to move it around because I think if I do the same time every day, I'll look at it and go, I've got other things to do. A walking thing might come in, so I might need to do that, and then I would move it down the calendar. So I put them all in on my calendar, and then I slightly move them around in the day if necessary. I'll move it down an hour or something, but I will still do it. I'm disciplined enough to say I haven't done that. I've still got to do that, and I do it. I think, and it's being disciplined as well.
It is.
interesting one.
Do you decide in advance of your 1% time what your one thing in that session is going to be, or do you just block out 1% time and during that time you then decide what's the most important thing next?
No, I decide beforehand that that's going to be on, let's say, content. I've got to write some content or whatever else I have to do. But I decide before, because if I didn't, I would probably spend half an hour working out what I was going to do.
Yep, exactly.
It's almost like you listen to me.
One of the new routines that I've started this year that I absolutely love is on my desk here. I have a pad of multicolored Post-it notes, and every day for my 1% time, I get my Sharpie pen, which is right here, and my Post-it notes, which are right here, and I just write, this is today's one thing. This is what I'm doing in my 1% time. I will decide that in advance, take off the Post-it note, and I attach it to my monitor, so that if I get started and get distracted in working on other things, it's there in my line of vision that you haven't done your 1% thing today, John. And when I do it, I then get to curl it up in a ball and I get to put them in a bin. And there's my bin with, look, there's yesterday's, for those watching the video, there is yesterday's 1% time thing in the bin. And the sense of satisfaction of ripping a Post-it note up, screwing up and saying, yep, done that, mate. Oh, fantastic.
It's interesting, isn't it? How everybody works differently, and what suits one won't suit another or whatever. But I did try that, and the Post-it note stayed on the laptop, on the screen for about 3 days. Oh no, actually, I think it was longer, probably for a whole week or something. And I thought, this isn't working. So I just took it off, and I did throw it in the bin, but it wasn't how
it wasn't done.
It wasn't what it was supposed to. It wasn't what it was supposed to accomplish. So I gave
and
up
that's
with
the thing,
that one.
It is what works for you, isn't it? For someone else, there'll be I love an app. I've got to do it on an app. For someone else, it's pen and paper, writing it in a journal in their best pen. For me, Sharpie, Post-it note, line of vision, works brilliantly.
Suzy, thank you for joining us on the Ambitious Lifestyle Business Podcast. The last question that we ask all of our guests is, what does an ambitious lifestyle business look like for you?
I think for me, because I knew this question was coming, is building a successful business that's big enough for me, and it's something that I'm in control with. And as everyone always says, building a business where you can do what you want, when you want, with who you want. But as I said earlier, I always think I wanted this huge, great big business, but I realized I don't want a huge, great big business. I just want a business that I can control enough for me without having any employees, and maybe outsourcing things at a later date, which would be good. But I think that's what it means. And just building a sort of legacy with evergreen assets that will go on and on and on. And maybe my children might be proud of seeing that I've got a book or two out, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Thank you. We talked about a book, Suzy. That's a new one.
I've got 3 books. I've got a Norfolk Beaches book, Norfolk Beaches handbook. I've got a Dog Walks Around the Norfolk Coast book, and I've got a Norfolk Heritage Walks book, and they've all been done via Amazon Create Space or Kindle or whatever you call them. Yeah,
fantastic.
I've got lots of books.
Very good. Well, I hope in the back of the Norfolk dog walking book, there's a link where you can buy a really nice dog collar.
No. I gave that one up a long time ago.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much for joining us, Suzy. Please, dear listener, do look out on the roads of Norfolk for the big truck with Watsons on the side. It's coming soon.
Probably have oil in it, I should think.
Fantastic. Thank you, Suzy. All the best.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Thanks.
So there we are, another episode in the can. How was it for you? Please let us know. However you listen to these podcasts, please leave a review on that platform. Let us know what we can do better, what you like, what you don't like, and how we can improve to make this show even better for you. We'll see you next time.